Yes, there's plenty of questions coming through, many of them on safety, but one which is quite interesting is, can we expect soon, in a year perhaps, commercial coverage of 5G service to wider population in Europe? So that's more focusing on the sort of how quickly can we have 5G rather than just the health concerns about that. So perhaps that's a good question to ask.
Okay. Since I don't want to dominate this panel, I also allowed Munir to step in as well because I'm hosting the next panel. Munir, would you like to raise some other questions as well?
Well, one of the interesting questions is as well how 5G can help emerging markets to attract new investors, which I think is, again, you know, requires just a brief, maybe focused answers from response from policymakers or engineers, but just few lines. I would kind of try to focus the debate there, and the interesting question about maybe on you know, who is winning among the tech giants this game on deployment of 5G. I will try to rephrase the questions because it goes, you know, how many countries have QA, but let's say that there are some European giants there that people probably are not aware of. So maybe it would be good to list top 5 giants that are currently working on deployment of the 5G infrastructure in Europe. So whoever feels like responding to this, floor is yours.
Do we have any volunteer from the speakers to answer those questions?
Well, let me have a go at some of the questions. I think the first one about where do we stand in terms of 5G deployment in Europe. I'd first of all recommend everyone to have a look at the site we have called 5gobservatory.eu, which actually gives a little bit of an overview of where we stand on 5G deployment. And it gives a pretty good idea, for example, in terms of where you can find enabled cities already today in Europe. There are 138 enabled cities where 5G is in operation or being tested, let's say. We have 191 5G trials in the 27 member states and the UK. So things are already moving quite nicely. In terms of full coverage, that's certainly going to still take a while. We have a political goal that in the EU we should have full coverage of 5G by 2025. So already today we have a number of, like I said, 138 connected or enabled cities with 5G, and we're moving now towards the other goal of full connectivity and convergence. The one about emerging markets and new investors, I have to say that's a very tough question. My personal view is that it's very, very difficult because in the emerging markets, it's often even the connectivity itself which needs to be provided, and they would already be happy with 3G or 4G, let alone 5G. So I think there the digital divide is still a very, very important issue to conquer, and that is of course something that first needs the investment, and once that investment has taken place, it delivers the ground, it prepares the ground for the connectivity needed by startups or other types of businesses, which can then sort of immediately use that type of connectivity in order to go global with their business. And I think that connectivity is a prerequisite and still a major challenge in the emerging markets. So I think I'll leave it there. Leave the other questions to someone else.
Okay. Anybody else would like to step in?
Maybe a few words, if you allow me. Okay. I saw recently one video related to the pandemic problems in China. Actually, the Chinese engineers used robots in a hospital in order to save the medicines from the risk to take care for illness people, which is one good example how 5G could help to the people in this kind of pandemic situation. I also want to say something about the fears of the people with related to the radio frequency. Andreas already said that the frequency used for 5G is similar to 4G. But that I will add something that this frequency band is also used are also used for at the moment for broadcasting, TV broadcasting, and it was used in 10 years ago for another kind of technology, WiMAX and WiBro, if you remember this kind of technology. This is not a new usage of new radio frequency. This radio frequency already are used. That's the reason that it's not something new and something different, and it's something stressful. Regarding to questions about the regulations, we have a strong regulation for 4G, which will be also post for 5G, and we also have another recommendation from the non-ionizing commission related to the handsets and users equipment for 5G, which is an additional regulation for this kind of technology. And we are working for the standards and following all the norms related for the healthcare.